Welcome to the Dynamite Sports Podcast, the premier podcast of America's living rooms.
Yeah.
Today I'm joined by my brothers Trey and Noah. I'm, of course, Tyler. And last night was the Heisman Trophy Award. The award show, at least. How are we feeling?
Ashton got snubbed.
I already knew what the answer was heading in. There's a CBS guy who releases it the day before because he goes ahead and he has all of the voters send them anonymous votes of what they're going to vote. So he said, yeah, they're going to vote Travis Hunter. We already know. I'm like, why'd you have to ruin it for me?
Dude, don't ruin the surprise.
It didn't really ruin it. You're going to find out eventually.
Yeah, but like... I don't know. Gentry's going to have a career year, but it's... Sure, his stats don't look great. They, on paper, compare him to other wide receivers and other corners. He doesn't look like the player that he's shown to be. But that's because he's not like other receivers and other corners, because he doesn't play the whole game on both sides. But he's fantastic. Travis Hunter will be a top 10 pick. He'll be fantastic in the NFL, too.
I'm absolutely okay with this.
Yeah.
We're not going to see a player like Travis Hunter probably ever again. Ashton Jennings had a great year, but he hasn't set the record yet. He probably will. But he's going to do it in a lot more games. Barry Sanders did that in 11 games. 2,600-something yards.
Yeah, that's
in 11 games. Like, unfortunately for a running back, in a year like this, he would have had to have broken the record in 11 games.
Yes, because Travis Hunter is a generational player.
It's not that Travis Hunter is a generational player necessarily. It's that nobody else has ever done that.
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, there have been two-way players in college football.
Charles
but
Woodson.
He is an above-average wide receiver. I feel like that's fair to say. But he's an elite corner. He might be the best corner prospect we've seen in years. And he was a 5-star corner coming out of high school. But, like, to be coached by Deion Sanders, of all people, in college, like, you're not put in a much better situation than that.
I agree. You couldn't have made a better coach for a corner. But my question is being pretty good at two positions better than being the best at one?
But he's not pretty good at two positions.
He's
pretty good at one, and like generationally one of the best ever at the other.
Okay.
Trey,
you can look at cornerback stats, but like he's not going to have a ton of tackles because they don't throw at him. He's not going to have a ton of interceptions because they don't throw at him because they know not to.
Yeah.
Because his players aren't open.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many touchdowns he gave up this year, but it can't have been more than 2 or 3, right?
One. It was one.
Yeah.
He gave one.
Exactly. Like, you don't see that at the college level very often. On defense, like, you got to think about, like, he's probably one of 4 or 5 players on that defense that's ever going to play in the NFL. He's by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that as a corner, just play on an island, like, you just don't see that super often. I can't remember the last time we were talking about the NFL draft and wondering if a corner was going to go number 1. That's absolutely insane.
Bonkers. Has there ever been a corner that goes 1?
I doubt it.
I wouldn't.
I can't think of a single one that would have gone 1. Deion was probably top 5.
Yeah.
But the other thing to think about is that, like, nobody's played two-way in the NFL since the 1950s.
Yeah.
And, like, the last to do so relatively successfully was Deion Sanders
His coach.
in the 90s.
Okay, I have a list of top 5 corners. Denzel Ward was taken 4th. Jalen Ramsey was taken 5th. Pat Pete was taken 5th.
Yep,
Hang on. Charles Woodson was taken 4th.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's like it. There's a bunch of nobodies after that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Westbrook, Sean
Hey,
Springs,
Bryant
Westbrook's not a nobody. He's pretty good.
Quentin Jammer.
I don't recognize that name, but I'm sure somebody does.
Yeah.
But, like, regardless, you have to consider that the last person to successfully play two ways, he only did it for a season, was Deion Sanders. He was second on the team in targets that season, He only had 36 catches, and he had only one touchdown on the season. So, what is next for college football? Obviously, the playoff is coming up this week, starting this week. Indiana and Notre Dame on Friday night. That's going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Wow.
South Bend versus Bloomington. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. And in
And-
basketball,
and-
that's a blue blood matchup. In football, it's just kind of like Indiana. Who? Thank you, Kurt Signetti, for making the season fun for Indiana.
Yeah.
You also have Clemson and Texas. That's going to be a fun matchup as well. Texas looked like a juggernaut until they faced Georgia. They didn't really seem to have very many weaknesses until that game. Georgia, obviously very good.
They've been good for
Oh,
what,
yeah.
5 years now.
They've lost like 3 games in the last 5 years.
They
It
made
just
a
makes sense.
mail-
Oh
man.
my God! Yeah.
They made a mailman a premier quarterback in
Whoa,
college
whoa,
football.
whoa! Easy on Stetson
whoa,
Bennett.
Hold on.
He's still a backup quarterback in the NFL. He's not a mailman yet. Give him
He
another
wa-
3 years.
He was a mailman. He literally came from being a mailman to be the Georgia quarterback.
Okay, sure. Tennessee, Ohio State. That's gonna be a shootout. That's gonna be a lot of fun as well. Nico Iamaleava, however you say that, versus
I am a leaving or whatever. I don't know.
yeah, that's what he's gonna tell him in the offseason. And then you have SMU and Penn State. That's kind of the stinker out of these 4 matchups.
And it's not even a bad matchup.
It's not a
either.
bad matchup. I'm just not that terribly interested in either of those teams. Like Penn State's gonna lose. It's just what they do.
What?
They lose games like that. Are
Penn
you
State
serious?
is like
That's crazy.
the last time that
much
they
love to
beat-
James Franklin, but
Last time that they beat like a top five opponent was like 2018,
it just feels like that's a game that they're gonna lose historically.
and it was like
See,
Purdue.
I just
number
want them to
24.
win
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
so that we could go and see Ashton Genty run for 3,000 yards against them. Like, just run all over 'em.
well, yeah, and the 4 teams you got are pretty decisively like obviously they're not the 4 best teams that are getting the bye weeks, but Oregon earned it. Obviously,
They're 4 pretty good teams.
Arizona
really
State
good teams.
earned it. Georgia obviously earned it, and Boise State earned it. So there are going to be some whiny Alabama fans, I'm sure, who are complaining about not being in
Oh
the playoff.
my God! It's like the
You lost to
the
Oklahoma.
entitled kid who finally got humbled.
Yeah,
And
you know-
it's like
you lost to Oklahoma. That it is what it is.
sucks to be you.
If
Yeah.
it was a 4-team playoff like it used to be,
We would have been stuck with Oregon and Georgia and Alabama and Texas somehow.
because they get to choose who gets in there. But this year they changed it to be
This is what everyone's been asking for in college football for the last
not
20
just
years.
choose the 4 good Power 5 teams.
Right.
Like
Let's
Which has
get
been the
a
system-
Mountain West team.
I'm so glad it's not just going to be Clemson, Ohio State, and Georgia and Washington again
And
for the
LSU.
8th year in a row. Yeah, exactly. I'm happy with this playoff. I think it's going
I
to be
love
very
it.
exciting.
yeah, and this
it
is
goes-
part of the reason
and it
why.
goes through January. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Should we pick winners?
Oh yeah,
Shall we?
totally.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, Trey, you go
should we
first.
s-
We're going to start with Tennessee, Ohio State.
Okay. Ohio State. Duh. I mean,
Really? Even after that
no,
loss to
hold
Michigan?
on. No. Tennessee. Never mind. I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot about the Michigan loss.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Let's see. Who's their coach again? Ryan Day.
Ryan
right?
Day.
He stinks. He's a
Fire
horrible
him.
coach. I don't know why you still have
He's
him.
not a horrible coach, but he
He
can't
was-
beat Michigan, and that's like the one thing you got to do at Ohio
Yeah,
State.
you can't beat Michigan. And he couldn't win with Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba. That whole wide receiver corps
That-
couldn't win with them.
Crazy.
And CJ Stroud.
Wild.
Like that was
And CJ Stroud.
He had Michael Thomas too, didn't he?
at one point he did.
Yeah.
I believe,
He had Dwayne Haskins at one point.
Was he the quarterbacks coach at that point, or was he the head coach? That might have been before Ryan Day.
What is it? I don't know.
Urban Meyer.
still.
Regardless, Trey's picking Ohio State. No, what do you think?
No. I said Tennessee, dummy.
Yeah,
You said Ohio State first, though.
yeah.
What do you got?
I'm gonna take Tennessee. I think it'll be a closer matchup than people are giving Ohio State credit for, though. It's a rivalry game, and Michigan flies high when they're in a rivalry game. Tyler, how about you?
I just don't know. Ohio State, flag planting, all that fun stuff. I think it's super funny that senators from Ohio are lobbying to ban flag planting on fields.
Stupid.
That's the funniest thing I've ever
It's-
seen.
It's a rivalry. What do you expect?
It's absolutely the funniest thing I've ever seen. If you don't want them to plant a flag, win the game. you had an hour of football, which is actually like 4 hours of your Saturday, to make them not do that, and you lost. So you have to kind of eat that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick Tennessee.
Yeah.
They kind of seem like a sneaky good team.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nico's real good. He's going to be a real good quarterback prospect. But I'm more intrigued by the running back, Dylan Sampson. 256 carries, 1,400 yards, 22 touchdowns. Probably the second best running back in college football, it sure feels like.
Not Scatabo?
Scatabo's pretty good, but I don't know. Something about Dylan Sampson. Maybe he plays Power 5.
My second favorite one is the Arizona,
Which is really the Power 2 now with the SEC and Big Ten.
Arizona State's running back.
That's
is
Scatabo.
Scatabo's real good.
Great
Don't get me wrong.
fullback.
Don't get me wrong.
Vibe from him. I love him.
Samson's going to be real good, though. He's 500 rushing yards versus
I'm
AP
sorry.
top 25s. Like,
I'm sorry, I just made a face because I realized that the Jets are playing the Jaguars.
that's disgusting.
I'm sorry.
Turn that one off. That one's going to air on the CW. That's awful.
I'm sorry. Go back. What were we talking about?
Sorry, Tennessee. I think they're going to roll over Ohio State. I think Ohio State has some talent, but I mean, that loss at
Ohio
Michigan's
State's
demoralizing.
always had talent.
I know that's a college football program that I don't think has ever actually been bad. Alabama's had some rough years, but Ohio State,
Can't think
They've
of one.
always been.
they've literally
Somewhere.
been relevant since the 80s. Probably since the 70s. That's nuts to think
Probably
about.
since the 1800s.
Like what are the other blue bloods? Nebraska, Alabama, like they all had a rough time.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's had rough years. I can't think of like an era where Ohio State wasn't relevant. That's kind of crazy to think about. Anyways, moving on. Texas and Clemson. Trey?
I don't know. I have not paid attention to Clemson at all.
They lost that first game against Georgia, and they were pretty good for the rest of the season.
Okay, so here's the thing with Texas. They are either the greatest college football team ever, or they are just okay. When they play like when they play like Georgia, they're
Georgia
not,
made that game real competitive, huh?
They just
With a backup quarterback.
I don't
What's going on with Quinn Ewers?
I don't get it. No,
He was supposed to be like one of the top quarterback prospects this year, and I'm not sure if he's going
they
to go in the
should, they
first
should
round.
just put in Archie, bro. Like
I'll
honestly.
give it
But
to you.
Arch struggled against Georgia too. He struggled too. I mean, Georgia's just that kind of good.
He's what, sophomore or freshman?
15 out of those 22 Georgia starters are going to go to the NFL, so we can just kind of say that. So it's kind of hard to measure that for a redshirt freshman quarterback. But Ewers shouldn't be struggling. He's been in college football long enough.
He's
He's
been
going to be a first.
Especially with that talent around him.
Supposed to be a
How
first
long
round.
So-
has he been in the college football?
Long enough.
Yeah, long enough.
I feel like I've been hearing that name for years. Moving on. Noah, what do you think?
Texas.
Clemson, Texas?
Texas.
Texas. I'm going
I'll
to take
take-
Texas as well.
I'll take Texas too.
It just kind of feels like that's not something they're going to lose. And
Horns
sorry, I
down,
thought the Ravens
bud.
were going to take back that kickoff. I'm watching it live. Moving on to the next matchup, Indiana and Notre Dame. Trey?
Indiana's best win is Wisconsin. That's
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I don't. How do you say that? Wisconsin wins.
Wisconsin. I was saying
Wisconsin.
they won, so
Yeah, they won. So
win.
Win.
Wisconsin.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Notre Dame here. I mean, Indiana looks good, but Wisconsin, really?
I'm going to go ahead and take Indiana.
I'm going to take the JMU Hoosiers as well. So
I
that's an inside college football joke because Kurt Signetti came from
Oh,
James
Lamar
Madison
Jackson
Universal. Thank you, Trey. I'm sure everybody listening to this 4 hours from now is really going to enjoy
My bad.
the play-by-play.
I was-
I thought about that
I
as I
panicked.
was thinking about the Justice Hill kickoff. Anyways, I trust the JMU Hoosiers. That's Kurt Signetti comes from there, transferred just about the entire roster in Indiana. I think they could upset Notre Dame. It doesn't, but numbers wise, it might not be an upset, but in spirit, that feels like an upset to me.
And now we get to the biggest point differential in these college football matchups.
Penn State and SMU.
Yeah.
Trey, what do you got?
Currently, Penn State is like 14-point favorites for this game, at least. Like, it's insane.
I'm going with the upset. SMU wins. I mean, Penn State, we've seen it. They're just not very good against ranked teams at all.
It's not that they're not good against the ranked teams. It's just that, in the spirit of college football, it just feels like something they should lose. It just feels like they don't win very often.
Well, I'm taking
They might be
Penn
good all the time, but it just doesn't.
Penn
doesn't
State's
feel
my
meaningful.
choice, 100%.
Well, good for you.
I can't
I'm gonna
take
take
SMU.
I want SMU to win. I want the ACC to be in the college football playoff in a meaningful way. Clemson's gonna be rolled in the first round. I'm fairly certain, but SMU, I think you get it. I want the American Athletic Conference to be recognized here in the college football playoff. I think that would be really funny if the Southern Methodist University Mustangs were able to beat Penn State and then Boise State. Like, that would be hilarious.
So, boys, one last thing as we wrap up the college football playoff talk. Who are you taking in your championship?
Georgia.
Trey?
Georgia. I mean, they've been the best. They will be the best until they stop getting recruits.
The team
Yeah.
I want to win is SMU.
I mean, Kirby Smart's going to be there until the end of time.
but the team that I think is going to win is Oregon. I don't see anybody beating them.
Listen, Dylan Gabriel's real good. He's one of those little left-handed quarterbacks. The offense is real exciting.
He's
Dan
one of
Lanning
the-
is fun. He's fun to watch on the sideline.
He reminds me of Marcus Mariota, partially because of his number, and secondarily because he can run.
And probably also because he went to Oregon.
Yeah.
Moving on, NFL draft. It's way early, but what better time than the present to start thinking about the NFL
yeah.
draft?
What time in the present? What better time in the present to start thinking about anything?
Fair enough.
Currently, the Giants are the first pick in the NFL draft. Trey, who do you think the Giants should take if they were drafting today?
So, okay, this is hard to explain. Remember David Carr? He was a great quarterback. He would have been good if he didn't have an offensive line. They don't have an offensive line. I wouldn't
Yes, they
want
do. Andrew Thomas is great. Left tackle.
outside of that.
They don't have a terrible offensive line this year. It's just that the team sucks.
I wouldn't want to waste a good quarterback on that on that Giants offense.
The defense is pretty good. You don't really need another pass rusher right now.
It's, in my opinion, it's play calling. They run
With
curls
the first overall
every
pick,
play.
there's only a couple things you can really do. It's either offensive line or a quarterback or a pass rusher. And I think quarterback is their biggest hole right now because what do you do? You have Tommy DeVito, who it never was really that good. And you have Drew Lock, who, he's always going to be one of those guys that's like, what if? What if suddenly he was good? Same with Gardner Minshew. Drew Lock and Gardner Minshew have, ironically, opposite career paths that are going to end up in the same place. Drew Lock,
With them like being on like highlight reels.
yeah, Drew Lock was supposed to be the franchise guy, and he kind of never really got a fair shot at it. Same with Trey Lance. And Gardner Minshew was never supposed to be the franchise guy. He was like a 6th round pick. And he gets thrown into the fire after Nick Foles gets hurt. And they're kind of all three of them in the same spot where you don't really know.
So, going back to the question, number 1 currently is the Giants. Number 2 is the Raiders, actually. So who, in the exchange of quarterbacks, are those two taking?
Want to go first time?
Well, I think they're both going to go quarterback. I think that Aiden O'Connell is going to be a mediocre quarterback for his whole career. I just don't see it developing with him because he just hasn't been put in good situations so far. Regardless, one of them is going to take Shedeur Sanders. One of them is going to take Cam Ward. Those
Not
are the
Dylan
two best.
Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel is a fun college quarterback to watch. I don't know that either of those teams are going to be willing to. Like Shedeur Sanders has always kind of been a crazy good quarterback. He has a huge ego. He's not the best. He hasn't shown the best leadership qualities, especially talking to the media. But the talent is undeniable.
Yeah.
And Cam Ward has been in college for 5 years now. Worked his way all the way from the bottom at Incarnate Word in FCS, and then he transferred to Mizzou, I believe, and then all the way to Miami. And Miami was a real good offense this year. Only problem was they couldn't keep themselves from playing down to their opponents. And so I don't really have concerns about Cam Ward. He's an elite arm talent. He's crazy in the pocket. He's nonchalant with it, if I may. Yes, this
Thank you, Trey,
silly
for that.
celebrations. I think that the Giants should take Shedeur Sanders, but I wouldn't be mad if they took Cam Ward either. I think Shedeur Sanders. I think the Cowboys should tank for Shedeur Sanders and then hire Dion as a head coach. I think that's a great idea. Not necessarily for winning football, but for the
fun of it?
soap. Yes, the soap opera drama of the NFL.
I think number one goes to Cam Ward. I think that the Giants realize that Shedeur is kind of like a Johnny Manziel, except maybe not on as big of a scale. Phenomenal player, big ego.
Ego-wise, he's Johnny Manziel.
Like-
I would be careful of that comparison because you kind of invite the illicit activity questions,
Yeah.
which I don't think is a problem with Shedeur. I think Dion would have not let that fly ever. Ironically,
I mean, I think last year he like flashed a Rolex after beating Colorado State.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
he pointed at it.
The guy that
Which is
I
awesome.
would want the Giants to go and take number one is Cam Ward. They've got two of the fastest receivers in football right now in Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. They also have terrible coaching right now, and they run curls every play, and that's why their stats
Well,
bad.
They're
but
stuck. They were stuck with Daniel Jones, who is kind of a broken man right now.
And I like Cam Ward because he's got a cannon. And you'll be able to get over the top.
Cam
with
Ward's
him.
just fun to watch. I
Yes.
mean, both of those quarterbacks are. Who's the projected third pick right now? That's where it gets interesting.
I don't remember. But I believe it was like a lineman or something. But
Spiritually, I think the Raiders should pick Travis Hunter. It seems like a Raiders pick right there. That would be fun to watch, wouldn't it? Travis Hunter on the Raiders.
Oh yeah, be fantastic. Where I want to see Travis Hunter go, I want him to be a Dolphin. Match him up with Jalen Ramsey for the last part of his contract, and then on the other side,
That would be insane.
put him with Tyreek Hill.
Absolutely not going to fall that far, though.
But the Dolphins are a low pick right now.
No, they're not. Not
They're-
that low.
They're 6 and 7.
They're 6 and 7. That is a
I believe-
game behind where the Bucks are right now.
They're like 12 right now.
I would kill to have Travis Hunter on my team.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, of course. Please don't call a 3-letter agency on me. Anywho, where does Ashton Jenney go?
right now.
I know Noah is big on him and he wants him as a top 10 pick.
He's
probably going to the
supposed to go to the
Cowboys.
Cowboys. Yes.
Yep, Cowboys.
But what I want to happen,
It's fair.
I hate to say this, I want Jason Light answer my prayers. I want Jason Light to go out and trade Rashad White, Braswell, because we have 3 outside linebackers that do the same thing, and I want to add our first rounder and trade with the Bengals, because the Bengals are a team that have an early pick right now. They also have 3 of the best players in football that could win 3 of the major awards: Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the sack leader currently, Trey Hendrickson.
So my question is, who's gonna block? And who's gonna catch passes? Bucky Irving is a fun running back. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong,
He can't block.
but he can't block. He's terrible in pass protection. He can catch passes pretty well, but he's no Rashad White.
See, I was prepared for this question.
Ashton Jenney,
He currently
undersized. He's not going to block either.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he'll do that. He hasn't had to do that in college at all. He can catch passes. I haven't watched a ton of Boise State. I just know that I've watched his film. I just haven't really keyed in on him as a receiver. And you have Sean Tucker as well. Don't forget about Sean Tucker, who
Tuck
is
Tuck.
essentially Ashton Jenney without all the hype.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have been if he didn't have to have heart surgery in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so my
What's
answer
the
to that
point?
is the third tight end named Kokeef.
Oh my god.
but hold on. So you're gonna have Kokeef be an every down back who stays into chip edge rushers and then run out in the flat. What's he going to do in the open field once he gets the ball, Noah?
He'll get me 3
Nothing.
yards.
Fall down. He's Cameron Brate, add 40 pounds.
Yeah.
So-
Cameron Brate, add 40 pounds, delete like 3 inches.
Yes, exactly. He's a fullback. Let's not get it twisted, but he belongs on special teams. So, what is a trade up for Ashton Jenney really add for the Bucks that they don't already have?
It's going to add another fast guy that you can put in the backfield with Bucky Irving. Thank you,
We
Trey.
have a
So-
3 running back system, Noah. We don't need 4.
Well, I'm getting
But
rid of
he's
Rashad
getting
White.
rid of one.
Yeah.
He's getting rid of arguably the most important one because he's the one that sets up your entire play action. That's all right though. I wholly disagree with this take. The Bucks do not need Ashton Jenney. They need.
I love Ashton
They need an
Jenney.
edge. They've already spent 3 picks on edge rushers up high.
Grab
So
another one.
that's another thing they need, but they're not. They shouldn't spend another. We're digging a deeper hole here by spending more picks on positions that we obviously can't draft. And so we don't really need offensive linemen. Don't need a quarterback. Don't need wide receivers. Don't need running backs. I mean, you could argue that adding Ashton Jenney is fun, but spending a first-round pick on a running back is kind of exceedingly rare. You saw Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, but those guys, they were day one contributors on teams that needed running backs. Bucks don't need a running back right now. They've got 3, and they don't really know how to handle 2 of them. So, what do the Bucks do other than trade up for Ashton Jenney? What's Plan B for you, Noah?
So it's an edge rusher, obviously. Penn State, I believe I don't remember his name. They have a cool edge rusher.
Ole Miss has a good one too. He
Ole Miss
got
has a
tossed
very
against
good
Florida
one.
and cussed
And
people
that's
out.
going to help us because he'll be a cheaper pick. He is currently the number 1 outside linebacker. But just like Peyton Wilson for me last year, he got a lot cheaper after something happened to him. Peyton Wilson had his ACL, and now he is up there right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's playing very well as their second linebacker. So, you add... I can't remember his name.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. You said they should trade up for Ashton Jenney. Why don't they trade up for Travis Hunter?
yeah,
they
I
don't
was
have
about
a
to say
good
that.
corner.
And we're about to also
If
lose.
anything.
We have a Tyke Smith.
Potentially, we lose...
Tyke Smith's a great nickel, but he's not an outside corner.
Okay, that's
You
right.
need somebody opposite Jamel Dean. They added guys in the offseason, and they all got hurt, I guess.
And potentially we could
Still.
lose Chris Godwin in the offseason this year. But he did just become cheaper again, ACL. I would love to keep him. He's a franchise guy, and he's the second greatest Bucks wide receiver ever.
Statistically.
So
Any other draft thoughts before we move on here?
Dylan Gabriel is going to be a breakout next year. He's going to be
Really?
our version of what we see from Bo Nix right now.
Interesting. Bo Nix is also 24. Let's keep that in mind. What do we think about the Bucks this week? They are facing the Los Angeles Chargers. That defense is real good.
I mean, it's the best defense in the NFL currently,
They still-
statistically.
They
Um,
didn't allow. I don't know if they haven't allowed 200 points yet, but last week they hadn't allowed 200 points.
The front seven's good. They got Derwin James as well. I mean, you got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and
Yeah. My thing about it is they got a great front seven. I'm very scared of them, but we've got the answer with Bucky Irving will play this week, which is big because we've missed him
Well,
for
that's
2
nice.
weeks now.
he's
Rashad
played.
White's-
He's just been
Well,
pretty limited.
Yeah.
Rashad's
White's
been good in his absence,
Been very
though.
good in his absence, yeah. Jalen McMillan has stepped up recently, as we saw last week with Carolina.
4 receptions, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yep. I literally posted that. Go follow us on Instagram. And you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of catches today. It's not going to be like we're limited. Charger defense is good, but go ahead, Ty.
You got to think about the Bucks defense as well.
Yeah.
They were already injured, and then Antoine Winfield gets hurt as well. And so you're down to J.J. Russell and probably Christian Izien as your primary safety now. That's going to stink.
Yeah.
Because we have no Whitehead, no Edwards, no Winfield. And, It's just
I mean,
it's gonna be whoever has the ball last. I think once again.
who's gonna catch the ball for the Chargers?
Quentin Johnson.
It's the same people that have been catching the ball all year.
Yeah.
Gerald Everett, Lad McConkey.
Same old.
They've been good enough with that receiving trio.
Yeah.
Palmer.
Yeah, Joshua Palmer as well. He's been one of the best slot receivers over the middle, and that is probably the Bucs' greatest defense in terms of passing. Is just there's no middle linebacker to defend after you take Levante David out of the equation.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting game. I'm gonna pick the Bucs, even though they are not favored in this game. They are actually 3-point underdogs. Trey, what do you think?
I'm gonna take the Bucs too. I think that they're overall the better team, but in most aspects, maybe they're not.
Interesting.
Because of the loss of Antoine Winfield this week, I will be taking the Chargers.
Boo. All right.
Ooh, fake fan.
We're going to do a little speed round here with the other marquee
yeah.
matchups of the week. Bills-Lions.
Lions.
Bills.
Lions. The Bills are very good, but the Lions are pretty good too.
Lions
only lost against the Bucs, and the
best
Bucs
team
got
in the
pretty
league.
lucky. Bears-Vikings.
Vikings.
Vikings, that's easy. Steelers-Eagles.
Eagles. They got the. What do you mean?
Steelers.
Saquon's very good. I'm going to take the Steelers as well, though. Something about Russell Wilson, man.
Weren't you gonna
Unlimited.
write an apology?
TJ Watt.
An apology letter.
I was
to Russell
supposed
Wilson?
to. I'll do it eventually. Getting to it. Anyways, next we're gonna do another speed round. Awards. We did this at the beginning of the season. I'm gonna take a victory lap here and say that I think I was right on at least 3 of these. We're gonna start with MVP. Trey.
Saquon, he's running for 2,106 and above. He only needs 482 yards.
Okay, I said this was gonna be a speed round.
Sorry.
No. I'm gonna question here. What if Derrick Henry also runs for 2,000 yards this year? What if we have two 2,000 yard rushers? Because it feels like it's gonna happen.
Saquon did the backwards huddle.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Noah, what do you think?
Shiesty. Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, who might not make the playoffs, is going to win the MVP. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with Josh Allen, who's actually my preseason pick. How about Offensive Player of the Year?
I'm actually going with Joe Burrow there. He leads quarterbacks in passing yards and passing touchdowns.
It's fair.
Jamar Chase. Leads.
Significantly. It should be one of
in
those two. No, I think it should be Saquon if he runs for. It should be whichever running back finishes with the most yards. I'll say that. How about that? I actually picked CeeDee Lamb at the beginning of the year. Obviously, the Cowboys stink. Defensive Player of the Year, I picked Antoine Winfield. That didn't really work out. Trey, what do you think?
Yeah, Antoine Winfield got hurt a lot, but I have Trey Hendrickson.
It's fair.
Leads the league in
Also
sacks.
Ironically.
And quarterback pressure, and I also have a bias because he has a cool name.
It would be really funny if the Bengals were a wild card team that lost in the first round to the Chiefs by quite a bit, but Joe Burrow wins MVP, Jamar Chase wins Offensive Player of the Year, and Trey Hendrickson wins Defensive Player of the Year.
And
I
I'll
think
finish my
that would
crown
be
right
pretty
here.
hilarious.
And put
Oh, boy.
all 3 of them in. Trey Hendrickson. I did pick
Really?
Antoine Winfield as well, but Trey Hendrickson is fantastic.
I think Dexter Lawrence is making a case here
Oh, yeah.
for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm absolutely
Leads
okay
the
with
league
him
in
winning.
leads the league
He's been
in
absurdly
sacks
good.
among men over 400 pounds.
He also leads the league in pick sixes among men over like 360 pounds all time. So
Okay.
we also have Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. I picked Caleb Williams and Jared Verse. I'm going to take a victory lap on Jared Verse.
I also took Jared Verse. I would be taking Jared Verse. Right now, my offensive rookie is Bo Nix. Leads the rookies in passing yards and touchdowns.
I'll stay on Jared Verse. I'm going to go ahead with my favorite, Bucky Irving.
I'm going to pick Brock Bowers.
The thing about defensive rookie of the year is that there's nobody else.
Yeah,
It was
it's
the same
those
thing
four,
last
really.
year. It was Will Anderson and
Byram Young.
Well, there's
from
Jaden
Los Angeles.
Daniels had a great start to the season and kind of tapered off. Bo Nix had a rough start to the season and he's kind of picked it up. Bucky Irving leads all rookies in rushing yards and touchdowns, I believe. And then Brock Bowers is having an absurd season for a rookie tight end. You just don't really see that very
Throw
often.
to anybody else.
Comeback Player of the Year, I picked Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. I said that one of those, whoever had more yards was going to win that one. They both are pretty bad. The Jets are awful, and the Falcons are kind of the wheels are falling off the bus.
My comeback at the beginning, I said Aaron Rodgers or Kirk, or I think I also said Daniel Jones.
They should give it to Damar Hamlin a second time. I'll say that.
I think Damar came back this year more than he did in past years. Right now my comeback is Sam Darnold. I mean, he's went from backing up Brock Purdy to being top 5 in yards and touchdowns.
He went from seeing ghosts to potentially leading them to a wild card. That's pretty crazy. I'm going to change my pick, obviously. I'm going to go with Jameis Winston.
That's a good
See,
one.
I said Sam Darnold. I want to stick with it, but I like Jameis Winston too much to not. And I'm wearing his jersey.
I think those are probably the two favorites, right?
probably.
I
gonna look
I
at
actually
the
don't
favorites.
know.
I didn't look
the
at this.
favorites.
I don't know who else would even. I haven't really been paying attention to that. Coach of the year, I went with Raheem Morris at the beginning of the year. I thought I was going to be vindicated, but again, wheels are falling off the bus. Kirk Cousins doesn't look like he can throw a football for much longer. He actually looks like Roethlisberger right before he retired, where
on.
he doesn't throw more than 5 yards downfield.
So this is weird. Comeback player of the year's highest odds right now are Joe Burrow. In order, Joe Burrow,
Oh yeah, he did get hurt
Kyler
last
Murray,
year. Yep, that's fair too.
Anthony Richardson.
No,
No. Sam Darnold is 4th.
I'm okay with Kyler Murray and Joe Burrow as well.
And
I just
then-
don't think that they didn't really. Kyler Murray came back last year. He didn't really come back this year. Joe Burrow returned last year, didn't he?
I don't.
I believe so, yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
He's having. Regardless, he's having a great season.
And Sam Darnold's going to lead a team who nobody thought was going to get playoffs. Into the
Playoffs?
Playoffs, yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, fantastic season from Sam Darnold.
And then the last one in the comeback player odds is Damar Hamlin.
Well, he did die. Coach of the year. What are we thinking?
Dan Campbell. I mean, it's kind of
fair.
obvious. He's coaching the best team in the league that lost 12 games a couple years ago, won 12-1, and is now won 12 games in great fashion too, smoking every single team in their way, except for the Bucks.
I've actually got 2 picks here. I think we should give it to Brian Callahan for having to put up with Will Levis. It feels like that's not going to last much longer. Whether it's the mayonnaise and the coffee that does it first, or the turnovers. He's like if you
Or the funny memes
He's like if you took the worst aspects of Jameis Winston
and multiplied it by 3.
and multiplied it by a Josh Allen. It's just kind of funny to watch week to week.
That's a better one than
It's
3.
pretty good. Or they should give it to Dave Canales. He probably won't win it this year. If they have a winning record next year, absolutely he will win it. Early favorite, I think. I'm going to say Mike Tomlin on a serious note
Yeah. Yeah.
because, I think you could probably say he deserves it every year.
Yeah.
What he's been able to do with this team where they don't really actually lose that much on their way back to being like playoff contenders. That's actually crazy.
He hasn't had a losing season yet with this team.
He hasn't had a losing season. He went 9-8 for 2 years, and then he's already back. He's already back to 10-3. Like, what are we doing? The Bucks. I know he was just a defensive backs coach, but they never let him walk. Feels crazy to say. And
My beautiful coach of the year will be, of course, Dan Campbell.
biting kneecaps
Shake
on his way up
Campbell.
to the podium.
See, I love Mike Tomlin. I love him a bunch. That defense is fantastic. But I gotta give
Dan
credit
Campbell.
where credit's due to the guy who is 11-1 or something like that. Like crazy stuff.
What is their record? That's a good question.
Sonic and Knuckles, baby.
Oh, shut up.
All right.
Please,
Well,
Warwick Dunn and Mike Allstott were a better duo. Okay.
no.
Whoa.
That's kind of crazy to say. I mean, it's not that crazy to say, but like, let's let these guys have their fun now.
Yeah, Sonic and Knuckles.
Super Bowl matchup and prediction before we finish out this episode.
You want to go first, Noah? You're gonna say
No.
something
I go
outlandish?
last.
You go last.
Every
Okay.
time.
All right. America wants Lions Bills. That's easy to say. I mean, the Lions and the Bills are both teams that have never had success, almost never, right?
No Super Bowl success for sure.
Well, yeah. But we're probably gonna get like Lion or Bills, Eagles. Kansas City's going out in the first round because they haven't scored 30 points.
That's crazy to say. That's
That's
actually
a-
insane.
that's a
That's a
crazy
crazy
stat.
stat.
They're
It's
up
a
there
crazy
with
stat.
the Raiders, the Panthers, and
They don't need to score 30 points though, man. They just
no one else has scored 30 points
They
against
keep
them.
it 20-17, and then they score a touchdown at the end of the game. It's 23-20, and that's how every game ends.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go. I'm probably gonna go Lions Bills.
Tyler.
You know, there's something about Giants and Raiders. It just I think that the Bills deserve to come out of the AFC, but I mean, who's beating the Chiefs? It seems like nobody.
The Bills.
I mean, the Bills apparently, but are they going to do it in the playoffs this time? Have they done it in the playoffs?
No.
Haven't the Chiefs gone to like the last 4 Super Bowls in a row?
God, so bad. Like
Hold on.
they have
2020.
Three out of the last 5
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
because they've won 3 of them.
Rams Bengals was the one that they haven't gone to in the last 5 years.
Well, Mahomes has 3 wins. 2 of them are against San Francisco.
One of the losses wasn't
He's
against
been
the
he's been
Bucks.
4 times already.
Yeah.
In this is his 6th year of his career, 5th year of his career. No, this is 6, isn't it?
It's wait.
Starting
2017.
5th year as a starter,
Yeah.
and he's been to the Super Bowl 4 times already. He's gonna go back.
Of course he is. Yeah, he's gonna go back.
He's gonna go back. He'll
He's
be
going
there.
back at least 2 or 3.
He'll be there at the end of the line. Who's gonna
Mhm.
beat him? It feels like nobody.
Yeah, I unless
They
the
just-
Browns beat him today.
They just don't look beatable. It just that feels crazy to say, but
Yeah.
they don't seem to. You have when you have a good coach, one of the best in the league, and
One
you
of the
have
best all
a
time.
good quarterback, one of the best in the league. He hasn't been the best in the league this year, but he's been one of the best. And when you have the best defense in the league,
There's not
it feels
much you can do.
inevitable.
All right.
It feels inevitable.
Time.
And so they're going to win, and I think it doesn't matter who comes out of the NFC. It doesn't matter. You can call the season right now. The Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl.
All right. Time for me to cook.
No.
In the NFC, you've got the Lions who have been beat by the Bucks. You've got the Eagles who have been beat by the Bucks. The Vikings who have almost
Sorry, let
been
'em
beaten
cook.
by the Bucks. They got beat last year by the Bucks with a better quarterback. You have the great, amazing Cowboys. No, they're not making the playoffs. You've got the Falcons, who have not been beaten by the Bucks, but in every single one of the great Buck runs that they've had to go and face the New Orleans Saints. Do you remember that in 2020? They beat the great New Orleans Saints that we did not beat in the regular season.
It's true.
So we'll go ahead, and I will say, fantastically, give me the Bucks in the Super Bowl. And let them lose, of course, because frickin' Chiefs. Hate to say it, but we're going to see the Chiefs versus Bucks. Another rematch 2 years in a row. History repeats itself, ladies and gentlemen.
Your logic's not necessarily faulty. I will say that there are some key differences. There's no Tom Brady. Baker's great, not Tom.
He's not the greatest.
There's
of all
no
time.
Chris Godwin. But there wasn't a Chris Godwin on the second playoff run with Tom, and the
got
Bucks,
pretty deep.
in all honesty, should have beat the Rams in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
So I can't fault that logic.
But
But
then whoever comes out of the NFC West, we haven't.
the playoffs are just so different.
Yeah.
It's
I'm willing
so
to
much
listen. I'm
competitive.
willing to hear you out. I struggle to see how the Bucks can win the Super Bowl without playing any defense.
By the way, this is like the 4th year in a row that I've predicted the Bucks in the Super Bowl. Don't expect it to go away.
Yeah, I'm
I
not-
can't fault you for that. Yeah. That's the NFL season so far.
Noah will say that
I've-
the Bucks are going to win the Super Bowl even if they're not in the playoffs.
Oh, like since 2018.
They should have
with
won it in
Jameis.
2019.
Yeah.
Well, they set the record for most total offense in a season, yards wise, with Jameis Winston, and they didn't even make the playoffs. I'm not sure that they had a winning record that season.
They were like
Like-
8
And I
and
think
8.
that
Yeah.
that perfectly sums up the Jameis Winston era. I think they finished 7-9.
It's something. It was weird. Like,
I think it's funny to look back on that era and think like, for so long the defense wasn't good, and then the defense was good, and the results didn't really change all that much.
it was
Because you're still handing the Carolina Panthers 4 extra possessions a game on turnovers alone, and so the defense had to get good, and they did. And then you hand Tom Brady the keys, and like the team's already built for him. We were literally a quarterback away for 5 years. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, we were a quarterback away from the Super Bowl for that long.
For the entire Dirk Cutter era, it feels like we were a quarterback away.
and Jameis wasn't that bad. We look
But he
back,
was.
He was
turned the-
very bad.
He had 30 interceptions.
If
And
you
that's
take away those interceptions,
30
he's an
turnovers?
all-time quarterback. Take away
30
those.
turnovers, and we're not counting his fumbles.
Yeah.
And he fumbled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He was an above-average fumbler.
But the fact that we even got to like 7 wins with that, with 30 turnovers, not
And
including
Jameis wasn't even
fumbles,
playing full-time either.
Like-
it was half Ryan Fitzpatrick the year before.
It's crazy. And Ryan Fitzpatrick to
And
Deshaun
Fitzpatrick,
Jackson.
you know.
Yeah. All
It
right,
is what it
folks.
is. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Dynamo Sports Podcast. We're going to finally let our parents back in the house so they can unload the groceries.
Yeah.
It's been fun, but now it's over. We will see you at some point, hopefully in the near future. Christmas break may allow us to record a little bit more often.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We'll send you out to the left corner from Bosch to Allen